Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and we are in the second to last week of Season of the Worthy. Haven't done a weekly reset video because I've kind of been watching to see what's actually going to happen with this thing that you guys probably can't see. But what has kind of occurred, and I don't know if somebody caught it this week, we don't know if it was there previously, but the almighty ship that potentially has been coming from Mercury to the last city on its kamikaze mission due to that Scion aiming it and breaking the controls is actually visible when you look directly into the sun in the game. Now, it's typically advised in real life, don't look at the sun, but in the game, of course, not so bad. But it is really, really hard to see. Now, I've done a couple Photoshop tricks that I'll show you guys to actually kind of make it pop. But if you like lower your brightness and catch it at the right time or at sunset, you can actually see it in-game, which is an interesting thing in theory. But I wanted to talk to you guys about, one, just kind of the way the almighty story has gone so far. The lack of it during most of the entire season, and also the fact that if you kind of calculate basic space math, of which this isn't even remotely close, if we saw it at all on one day, it should have pretty much already smashed into the last city, or we should have blown it up. So just kind of some timing of things. So that's what I want to talk about today. First one, if you guys are looking in game right now, the sun is going down. What I'm going to try and do is actually change my field of view to where it's very small. This kind of helps me zoom in so it's bigger. I'm also going to adjust the brightness for you guys so maybe you can see it. The best way to find the sun is kind of put it behind you and then look at it straight ahead. Now, I'm even looking at my display between two monitors and it is really hard to see. But what I can do is literally I'll take a screenshot of this right here. And I'll show you guys just a little video clip of me actually putting this into Photoshop so you guys can see that I'm not crazy. But the Almighty, the silhouette of the Almighty is out there kind of, you know, slightly eclipsing the sun. Not really the biggest, you know, silhouette in the first place, so it's pretty easy to spot. All right, here's just a quick photo of what I want to show you guys. This is me standing in the tower looking up at the sun. It's pretty high in the sky at this point. And all I'm going to do is make a copy of the image. I'm going to change the blending mode. This is a Photoshop thing, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. All I'm going to do is literally change it to multiply, and I'm going to do nothing. Now, there's a bird up here, and you can just barely start to see it show up. But as I add copies of this multiply layer over the top, you're going to be able to see the Almighty show up easier, 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 until it's almost black. And then you can definitely notice as I zoom in, no question, that's the Almighty. There's a bird, obviously, as well, but the Almighty is right there, literally over the sun. And this looks exactly how it has for a few days. The proportion of, like, the wings outside the main circle of the sun seem to be staying the same. So, back to the video. But the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that I think they missed out on kind of a cool story beat with the Almighty, the way we can see it, and it hasn't changed size in a couple of days. So it was first spotted Tuesday at reset, and honestly, we have been waiting for things to happen with this almighty ship for a little while now. We got the Fellwinter's Lie quest done, we got the history on Rasputin, which is cool. I don't know how that's going to tie into next season, but I'm hoping it has some importance to it. It's not just a quest. And I'm going to keep tracking this thing, so keep watching over the right shoulder of my character, and we're going to try and see what we can spot. As it gets closer to the horizon, it gets a little darker. And the best way I can do it, if I put it on screen, I can technically see it right now. It's hard to spot, but again, I'll show you guys when it gets closer, or I'll do a screenshot if I can't make it really pop, but it's there. So the Almighty is this, like, sun-swallowing ship that the Cabal brought in, and the Red Legion was going to take over the entire solar system, all this fun stuff. We end up stopping that. Move forward a couple years, obviously. And then we had Season of Dawn. They were trying to change the timeline so the Red Legion could actually win the war. And then we defeated them there. But one Scion got away, jumped aboard the Almighty, basically apparently turned it towards the last city on Earth, aimed it there, turned some thrusters on so it would actually start on its like journey towards the last city, and then busted the controls so it couldn't be changed. Hence our entire journey this season for the Seraph Tower public events, the first phase so we could build all the little satellites, the second phase that was harder to shoot those up into the sky so we can have Rasputin hopefully destroy this thing. Well, that doesn't actually seem to have happened yet, and we are a week and a half away from the end of the season. Now, my issue with this, waiting this long, I honestly thought this was going to happen on Tuesday so we could kind of enjoy it, see the cinematic, know you've got like a couple weeks left to go. The main reason is next week is when we are likely and pretty much absolutely have to see what comes next season. Next season starts on June 9th. If you look in the calendar, not making it up, we have 11 days left in the season. So, today being Thursday, we have just about a whole 12, but 11 days left in the season. So, like 1 week and 5 days left to go is not a lot of time left in the season. And typically, when it comes to at least their previous season, the way they're going to deliver the information about what comes next, they literally wait till the final week. Now, I can understand this to a point, because you have the almighty story that they want to let, kind of pan out. All the, satellites that we spin up in the air. There's probably some cinematic where Rasputin, like, pulls together all the satellites and triangulates it on the almighty and fires and blows it out of the sky. Now, this is a little bit of spoiler, so you could probably skip, like, 10 seconds if you don't want to hear it. But potentially there is a instance of the tower that is loaded into some people's games where it looks like there's actually damage on the tower. So maybe when it explodes, not all of it is completely exploded, or some of it travels towards Earth and crashes down, and we don't know what entirely happens when that happens. Now, would it be really cool, shout out to Paul Tassi and his speculation, where like part of the Almighty crashes in the European Dead Zone, because this is a big-ass ship, by the way, crashes in the European Dead Zone and actually changes like the actual landscape of a zone? Would that be really cool? Absolutely, and hell yeah. Do I expect to see this in a small seasonal thing? No. I'm with him. That's like dream, hopeful type stuff that's happening. I don't expect that to happen. But at some point, we do actually have to shoot this thing out of the sky. We actually have to finish the season unless our efforts with Rasputin are just going to fail, and the last city is just screwed, which would be a very different turn of events that I can say I do not expect. I don't think that's how it's going to go, because I don't see them just, like, taking all of this stuff out. But I could be wrong. Just doubt it, though. So at some point, we have to blow the thing up. Now, the only issue is the Almighty has not been in the front of people's minds for most of the season. We had the opening cinematic, about 2 minutes, with Zavala and Anna Bray on the actual Almighty, because they went and boarded it, and they're like, okay, crap, this thing is aimed. We got to figure out what we got to do. And that was like the last time we really saw the Almighty. Now, we worked with Rasputin. We've been working on the bunkers, trying to shoot all these satellites up in the air in the public events. And then at about week 5, our focus went completely somewhere else. We started talking about the pyramid ships, space Doritos, whatever you want to call them. Tetrahedron ships, if you're going to get technical on names, because they're not a pyramid. They're a four-sided figure, they look like. Either way, that became the major focus, is the wall of orange dots that seems to be approaching Titan, potentially at the end of this season. And then also, potentially, if they just keep going, pacing-wise, they might get to Earth by fall, which would obviously be a really big deal, because they're probably headed for the Traveler, since the energy is what woke them up in the first place. So all of that being said, we have potentially a huge, big, giant focus in the darkness and the pyramid ships that is really overshadowing most of this season's offerings. Now, this season has been lackluster in many regards. I mean, public events being the activity, the lost sectors were just like lost sectors that were harder with a couple champions. Hasn't been as much. Trials was going to be the big focus, and there's quite a few people that are still playing Trials. Unfortunately, the cheating and the lackluster loot and just the way some of the tokens and all of that whole system of work, it didn't launch well, to say the least. So the focus of Trials for this season didn't quite hit it out of the park. So then the other pieces, like 9 million public events for the Fellwinter's Lie Quest. Yeah, that's too damn many. Okay, well, we adjusted it. Okay, well, we powered through, and on Sunday night, we knocked out the final planet, and then the quest was bugged. Like, unfortunately, the hits just keep coming for Bungie. And what I worry about is the final piece of this season, blowing up the Almighty, which should potentially be cool. If that has any ramifications on the system, if it's with Rasputin, whatever else is going to happen there, is going to basically be instantly overshadowed if this waits till next week. Next week, June 2nd and June 3rd, is a week before the season launches. Last time around, they had like the teaser on Twitter. It's like, you know, a little 10 seconds to be like, hey, tomorrow the trailer launches for, you know, so-and-so season. And then like Wednesday, I think the trailer actually will launch on June 3rd. And we're going to get the season of Redacted and actually get the word that goes where Redacted is and figure out what comes next. So those are going to be huge pieces. The next season's supposed to be the biggest one. If you go back and watch one of the Moon Vidocs the Bungie did, they talk about season 10 was like the building, and then season 11 is like a season you've never seen before. You're definitely going to want to be there for it, which sounds really cool, but all of that type of stuff makes this whole Almighty season completely almost negated. So then this little cinematic we're about to see is going to get to shine for like 30 minutes, and then we're going to get a trailer, and they're going to be like, forget about it, let's move on to the next thing. And that's kind of unfortunate that that's going to happen that way. Now, I can show you guys on screen where, and I'll probably put it in the background a little bit with the images so I can show you guys that the Almighty is actually floating over the sun. I wish it would actually be getting bigger. Now, when it comes to the math of this entire thing, Mercury on average, and again, we can be on different sides of the sun, by the way, in orbits, so this is not 100% guaranteed math by any stretch. Could be a lot farther, could be closer, depending. But they say, on average, we are about 48 million miles away from Mercury. Now, if there's roughly 90 days in a season, I know it's not exact, but roughly 3 months, you take 48 million, you divide it by 90 days, and you get about 555,000 miles that the Almighty would need to travel in a day, and each day to make it from roughly Mercury to Earth. Now, the moon is about 250,000 miles away from the Earth's surface. And by that math, the Almighty ship has to be traveling at a speed, potentially, unless it's just accelerating in the end, who knows. But it would potentially need to travel at a speed that is twice the distance of the moon from Earth in one day. So if we get to the point where we could actually see the Almighty, you know, kind of eclipsing the sun, the fact that we can see it at all, and it's, you know, roughly probably not as big as the moon, but maybe it's the size of the moon, who knows. If it's about that size and we can see it, that means the day that we saw it, it should have crashed in about 12 hours later, probably at the absolute max. So the fact that it hasn't been seen changing in size at all means either video game, just you're going to have to suspend some disbelief and they're going to get to it when they get to it. The fact that we see it maybe have been just like a fun teaser that a Bungie person put in there and be like, let's see if these people stare at the sun. Hey, they did. Okay, sure enough. Well, still, we're going to resolve it next week. It's not going to move. Or there's something else going on. My suspicion is not anything more than just video game, and we have to wait for the cinematic to actually play out. But overall, there hasn't been a whole lot that is, like, wrapping up this season. We got the cool quest with Felwinter. The bug was unfortunate, but the lore was actually pretty interesting. I enjoyed that part. And then in the tower, you guys may hear this or not, but the tower, when you load in, now has kind of some more ominous music to it as well. We have ominous music in the tower. We actually can spot the Almighty when you mess with, like, brightness and get, like, the perfect look at the sun. The Almighty's out there. We can see it. And by math, it should have already crashed in and it's not moving. So I'm just at the point where I want the season to actually, like, wrap up and see what's going to happen in this amazing, awesome next season. Because I think everybody's kind of done with this season. So let me know your guys' thoughts down below if you would have liked to have seen the Almighty this Tuesday. If you think it happens next Tuesday, do you think it's going to get overshadowed by the trailer and be like, oh yeah, that did happen, but the trailer came so soon we forgot. Let me know your guys' thoughts about how the season is wrapping up. I will do a full thoughts video on just the course of the entire season later. But for now, just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the Almighty, kind of the story arc of the season, our focus with Rasputin and all of those pieces. And I'll let you guys know when hopefully this thing gets resolved. But for now, have a good one, enjoy, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the last word. We will be recording it at 9 a.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Ebontis. So last word podcast, 9 a.m. Eastern. I'll see you guys there. Have a good one. Enjoy your week.